people who see it until they become something so amazing, so committed to patriotism, so absolutely committed to conservative values and the Christian message that created the West. Those people become absolute inspired to go out and change the world. The rest of the people just get a few laughs and wonder what all the fuss is about. This is God's comic, Brad Stine. This is Brad Stine Has Issues, and this is my very own song. Ooh, yeah. It's God's comic, Brad Stine, and Brad Stine Has Issues. Brought to you by Christian Podcast Central, where all the podcasts that are Christian are centralized, so you have lots of viewing opportunities. This is, by the way, the last time Christian Podcast Central will be promoting this show as they've moved on to a whole new realm. So I wanted to give them their last shout out. God bless you, Christian Podcast Central, for promoting this show all the time you did. What show is it? Well, if you're a brand new and you just see me as that comic that comes on and says brilliant things, it's Brad Stine Has Issues, where comedy, conservatism, and Christianity collide in a cacophony of clarity. My son Wyatt is here. Wyatt is only here because I allowed him to be, not just because I gave him his own button, which he likes to utilize, usually at the wrong time, but indeed he's here because, well, he issued from my loins. That's what makes him existence. That's what gives him existential reality. Had it not been for me, there would be no Wyatt. Wyatt, say hi to the folks.
No.
Wyatt, your job is the sidekick. Do you know what that means?
It means I'm constantly on your side.
And?
Being a thorn in it.
Kicking me. Yes, you're bugging me. You're bothering me at relative time. Listen, when you come on the Brad Stine Has Issues podcast, we want you to have fun at first. Everybody comes on because they think, oh, he's a comic. I like this guy. He's really funny. And wow, he was doing things from a conservative, Christian conservative point of view that nobody else had ever done many, many, many years ago. And now everybody's catching up and they're just figuring out who he is. And I was all by myself, like a rudderless captain, wondering where my mates were. Wyatt, are you my mate?
I don't really have much of a choice, do I? You're paying the bills, so...
I am paying the bills, son. And what do your bills consist of as we speak? He's 26 years old. He's a millennial. He's one of those complainers. Oh, you boomers have left us in a world of hurt. We have no way of having health care, and we have no way of having our own homes, and we have no way of having our own vehicles, and we can't afford gas or whatever. So I don't know how we're going to survive, as he sits in his father's house and gets free rent.
It's not free. It's almost free.
Oh, yeah? How much did I charge you?
A trip to go run errands.
Yeah, he runs errands. He takes care of the pool. He takes the trash out.
Yep.
He has lots of things that he does to earn what used to be called sweat equity. Why? Because he works at Lowe's, and let's face it, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but when it comes to a high-paying gig that people are just clamoring for, it's Lowe's. Son, tell us about the tools. Is it everything you'd hoped it could be? Did it really tap into your creative process? I know you wanted to be a drummer and a musician for so long, and then you said, you know what? I could be a drum musician. I could be a computer game creator. I could be a computer programmer, or I could find a ratchet set.
Well, the interesting thing is, I was actually training a new employee today. And I had to tell them the difference between a regular hammer and what we call a dead blow hammer. Now, the difference is that a dead blow hammer has these tiny steel ball bearings in them, making them what I like to dub hammer maracas.
Ah, and what do they do? Tell me a little bit about the dead blow hammer. What is its purpose? What's its the integrity of it that allows it to be used in a special place, not like a typical claw hammer? I know my vernacular.
Okay, cool. Well, you see, the difference is a dead blow hammer, when you hit it, those ball bearings hit the surface as well.
Okay.
So it's basically like you're getting more hammer per hammer.
Okay. So it's like hammer squared.
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
We don't have the high-end stuff. I would say more log of n times hammer.
Okay,
but,
okay.
I mean, which is still impressive. But
So you're telling me that it's got the ball bearings, so when you hit, it's theoretically hitting, and then the bearings are being thrust by inertia, giving it a double blow.
It's basically like you hit something with a big hammer, and then a bunch of really tiny hammers sort of do their best.
Mm-hmm. And how many idiots fall for that and buy that ridiculously ineffective hammer?
We have a list.
Oh.
Yeah, we keep it in the back room. We update it every once in a while.
Does it have pictures next to them so you guys can point and laugh?
Oh, yeah, and it's the pictures that you scribble on with Sharpie, make them have a mustache or a clown nose stuff.
And do you give him like the little hammer with the little ball bearings and he's like...
No. That's saved for once you buy at least two.
Okay.
Which actually happens more often than you'd think.
Now, what profession would utilize the ball bearing filled hammer, or as we like to call it, the dead blow hammer?
Or, as I like to call it, hammer maracas.
Yes, tell me about it. Who buys this? Is it for a specific industry? Perhaps it's for people who are Latin.
Usually it's bought by people who have a construction job at 6 a.m. but a smooth jazz solo at 7.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So they don't even have to change their clothes or take off their tool belt.
No.
They are
In
prepared
fact,
with the tool to do the hard labor and the tool to do the cool.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you break a lot of drum heads doing this, but it's the small price to pay, They're just,
My goodness.
just paying their dues,
My gosh. And how long have you been drumming, son?
I honestly couldn't even tell you. It's been...
Who paid for your drum lessons, son?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I think Mom.
Do you know the first sticks we got, you had little ball bearings in them so that when you hit it made
Oh my goodness, my first drumsticks were hammer maracas?
They taught you how to paradiddle without having to try.
Because every time I'd hit it once, it'd hit it 1,000 times.
Yes.
Cheap way to learn, but it did work.
But it worked.
Yep,
Made
that's
you
what I literally just said. Thank
Listen,
you for
I want to go
repeating my
say
joke.
Wyatt, I don't know if I'm crazy to do this, but I want to see who was up front, who was launching into the beginning of the hello, and guess who it was, Wyatt? Guess who has regained his sainthood?
Oh, Nick Kress.
Nick Kress
Yes,
came
Nick
in.
Kress.
Rick jumped in and said, I'm in, and he got it. So there it is. Hello, Brad, says Nick Kress. Guess who else is here? Jim Brunel, always here. Dusty Wilhelm, always showing up. Barb Molina, how do? Yeah, nice. Tencel Sizemore always shows up. Rob Williams, awesome day. Brad Ness. Andy Johnson Greens from Northern Ireland. I love it. Wyatt, I love it when Ireland says hi. Don't you?
Wait, you said Ireland?
Ireland saying
Like
hi.
the entire country?
I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know how
well-
many people. You think there's more than one person in Ireland? Because it's just one guy that said it.
I mean, there's probably more than one person in Ireland who's not drunk enough to be here.
Very good. Do you think that they get drunk in the beginning, like right when they wake up? Do you think they just get drunk after the shift? Or do you think they just stay in a perpetual drunkenness?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you, but because I'm too distracted by a question I just thought of.
What is it?
Why didn't the Irish invent vodka? They have the potatoes.
Do you ever heard of the potato famine?
That was then? Oh, that
And you know
explains
what?
a lot.
You know what's so ironic?
What?
They were just about to invent vodka.
They were like one potato away, and the whole thing just derailed.
And you know what they found out? You can't make vodka out of? Turnips.
What can they make vodka out of?
Well, I was doing my I'm drunk on vodka impression. What? I'm trying to bring my people in so they vicariously experience a vodka rush to the head.
Well, if they're from Ireland, they don't have to vicariously live it. They're already doing it.
That's true. They live in that. Maybe it gets passed on in the DNA. Anyways, all you Irish out there, God bless you. We love you. We just want to pray for your liver so you can survive and be here next week.
Also, I have a comment from Jeff Hayes who asks who the Captain Jack Sparrow of us is, which I wouldn't really quantify either of us as the Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah. Listen,
Mostly because neither of us can do the accent.
here's something that I need to tell you guys, and I'm going to be honest. And if you're new to the Brad Stine Has Issues podcast, and you only know as me as a comic that does funny things on stage but doesn't actually interact as a normal human, and Wyatt, I am a normal human. I really am.
Is that your excuse this week?
It is. I'm going to go with normal humanity and just see if it connects to the people. What do you think?
Something's bound to work.
Something will work, and I think this is it. Well, here's the deal, folks. I got to tell you something. I oftentimes don't connect to pop culture, and this started a long, long time ago.
Like around time pop culture was invented.
Maybe, because here's the thing, and I don't know if this is just some, the maverick in me. I don't know if this is just the malcontent, but I have, for the most part, always had a disdain for pop culture. I don't stay up on what the latest music is, and what's the most popular music now, right? Hip hop, I think, huh? Is that hip-hop? Kind of the no?
I think it's. It's still pop,
is it?
But it does depend on where you are geographically. Cause,
okay.
You know, in some places.
So if you're in Ireland, drunk on vodka, you'd be listening to?
That's a good one. Irish hair metal, I'd say.
Oh,
yeah, didn't expect that, did
I
you?
didn't
Well,
see.
guess what? I'm a connoisseur when it comes to random music genres no one's heard of before. Why do you think I have a song on my phone that's literally titled "The Chicken Yodel"?
I don't know. Is that a real song?
And it actually is. Yes, I can. Actually, I have my phone with me. I could play it through my microphone a bit.
You probably could, and I might let you do that in a second. I don't know if there's any kind of copyright
Who
laws.
in their right mind would want to claim ownership to something called the chicken yodel?
All right, play something. Folks, I did not see this coming, but my son
Honestly,
literally
I
said,
didn't either.
we'll play for like 20 seconds or something, just so we don't get in trouble.
Yeah.
So who's the name? Who's the band?
This is Kerry Christensen with the chicken yodel from his classic 1998 album, Hooked on Yodeling.
Yodel
All right.
on.
So yeah, that's about a minute and a half of that. So I'm sorry.
Folks, a lot of you could on this program, and you love it. You love the depth, you love the insight. But what you don't expect, and it's what all the newcomers are coming to appreciate, is that we will turn you on to the eclectic world that my son lives in when it comes to music. Now, he truly is a very gifted drummer. He played since he's a kid. He had a band when he was a little kid, and they wrote original songs at 10 and used to go into battle of the bands against adults and win. So he's really good. And he's very eclectic, and I like that. He's got a very broad palette of music that he likes. And then he comes in with the Yodel Chicken Dance song. And as much as I appreciate your willingness to add that to your repertoire, son, I find it disturbing, to say the least.
I have been banned from playing that to literally every person I've shown it to, and I still don't know why. And that's not a joke either. Like, nobody I've ever played that for has ever wanted me to play it again.
Wyatt? Wyatt?
Yeah?
Why did the chicken cross the road?
To yodel?
To flee that song. So listen, here's what's next. Barbara Alsop. Hello from Beaverton, Oregon. No rain, 100 degrees. Barbara, will you stop complaining? Wait. You know, did you hear what Barbara just said? No rain, 100 degrees. You know what she's saying, right? That somehow I'm a witch doctor. Somehow I'm a native that can do a rain dance and bring water onto Oregon. Now, the reason it's not raining in Beaverton, Oregon, is because Oregon has gone crazy. And I think God looks at you guys and go, I don't think you deserve. We're going to have to ration the water, and it ain't going to Oregon, including in Washington. And Oregon's known for kind of misty, wet, very much like a Washington state. But God has neglected it. He's abandoned you. I'm so sorry. If you're Christians out there, God bless you. We will send you missionaries in the form of water bottles. What else should we send? Drones with water bottles?
We'll send some priests and like life preservers or something.
Yeah, to mock them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they have nowhere to use them. That's
Yeah.
funny.
Also, so Nick Crest just commented that the chicken yodel is just as bad as the Kankavoo song, which, excuse me for a few minutes while I go look up what that is.
Okay. Hey, listen.
But it
What?
actually also reminds me of another song I have on my phone, which is it's a little bit. I'm not gonna play this one because, I mean, I think I've tortured our audience enough. It's from like the 60s. It is a song titled "I Like Bananas Because They Have No Bones,"
Ah!
which is technically true.
Is that ready? Is it queued up?
No, I'm not playing that. I'm not. Again, I have tortured our audience's ears quite enough for one podcast.
I did not ever.
Unless you'd want to hear it.
I want you to cue it up because I got to hear about I love bananas because they have no bones. And how do you not love stuff like that, folks? That's the creativity of the human. That's why I love humanity, because we are so unique. We're so creative. No animals do these things. No multiverses do this because they don't exist. No planets, no moons, no stars. Amoebas don't do these things. Only humans. We're made in the image of God. Thus, we are creative and unique and special. And it's the one thing that we constantly try to tell to you atheists out there. I love you, but you got nothing to offer society because you can't create unless you believe in a transcendent source that tells us that there is something grander and unique and beyond just the survival instinct that you say is all that drives us. If that was true, we wouldn't be writing poetry. We'd be out raping and pillaging and eating bananas boneless. Why? To survive. Hey, what else is out there? Hey, Karen Boyd said a few minutes ago, Brad. Joe, she's laughing because she thought I really didn't know we were on. Hi, Wyatt. Oh, yeah, Brad Stine, the sidekick. That's Brian Shute. Let's see. Clark Berg's there. William Campbell. Lee Rice is there. Let's see. Oh, Ontario, Canada. Wait a minute. Danny Herring's here from Ontario, Canada. Wyatt, do you have a dirge? Do you have any kind of sad music that you can push the button for, just for Canada's sake? Because, you know, they've lost their way. They're a totalitarian state. They are run by a despot. They'll never be free again. And we can't get in there to help them because we're not vaxxed. And we're not vaxxed because we're normal. And we care about freedom and liberty and not having heart attacks when we're 16.
Honestly, I don't have any sound bits that are sad enough for that situation.
I want you to push a button in honor of Canada. Canada, we're just going to let God choose. This is for you and in honor of your loss of country.
Is that the laugh track button? Is that the... Please tell me that was the laugh track button.
So that would be the laugh track button. Listen.
Well, okay.
I got to tell you, Dan, I have a laugh with us because I do feel sorry for you guys. I've been to Canada many times. I've been to 7 or 8 provinces, except for BC. I never made it to BC, which I am told by every Canadian I've ever met. BC, British Columbia, is the greatest part of Canada to go there. I've never been there. I'm never going now because I will not go anywhere that demands I get back. So I'll probably never see Canada again for the rest of my life. But I'm sorry that we picked I thought there'd be something more poignant, something more uplifting, but no, you're just mocked and ridiculed. But it's your fault. You voted for Trudeau. Stan Stinson, when does this show start? Oh, there he goes.
There was the comedian in the audience. Man, I thought the comedian was talking.
Lee Rice said, "Slay." That's what I like. Hey, Robert Little gave us 200 stars. He probably wanted to be able to speak. China, wow, censorship over China, Beijing. Have these free stars. Doug Thunder, yes. Forrest Bainey's here. Oh! Paula, Faye, Marie, Rauchi.
She needs another name. She does.
I just want to say this, Paula, and I've never met you. Matter of fact, I wish you'd send a photo because you just sound so amazing with those 4 names. Why? Can you push a button for Paula and her 4 names? She's been here every week. That's for you, Paul.
So glad I remembered which one was the laugh track and didn't press that one.
Jeff Hayes is here. Flip-flop Fauci no longer exists. That's Tencel Sizemore. Doug Thunder. Fauci hiding like the phony he is. Valerie McDougall, she's new, I think. Jeff Hayes, who's the captain? Oh, so I'm way behind. Cindy Lou Who, Mike Spice Wife. Hi, Brad. Hey, how are you? Nick Crest, when you have to hit something just right so you don't break it. Tappy, tap, tap. Oh, okay. So he knows more than we do. Hey, look at this. It's pouring rain and storm here in Cross Plains, Tennessee. That's because you're in Tennessee and not in Oregon.
You know, I heard the weather does that sometimes.
Yeah.
Rains. Yeah.
Hey, did you know Chester Mwanza? Do you know who Chester Mwanza is?
I not.
Okay,
no.
well, he's watching me from Meanwood, Mutombe, Kwamwina. So he's in
Meanwood?
Africa.
Man, property values must be down over in Meanwood.
You got that right. Look at Nick Kress. I have 10 of them. Wyatt, Nick is on your board of buffoons. He's got 10 of those hammers.
10 hammer maracas?
Yes! He's the Ricky Ricardo of dead hammers.
Dead blow.
Yeah, dead blow hammers.
The hammers are... Actually, would you consider a hammer dead if it was never truly alive?
I don't know.
Or are you implying that all hammers are alive but are killed during the manufacturing
I don't
process?
have the promorphicized hammers. I never have, and I'm certainly not going to start.
Well, you just called them dead.
Yeah.
Death is a characteristic of living things. So you're promorphizing them.
You know what, Wyatt? We'll hammer this out later. Boom! Let's see. Brunswick,
okay,
Maryland's
just because you scream into the mic doesn't quantify the punchline.
It adds. You know what it adds? You know what it adds when I scream into the mic? It's like little beads.
Tinnitus?
It's like little beads that are thrown on top of my vocal cords to add more punch and power. It's kind of the maraca of the punchline. That's right, Wyatt. I use my vocals to imitate a dead blow hammer. So
And
take that, my friend. Oh, I told you last week you weren't going to survive this week.
Yeah, and
I am taking you to the woodshed and hammering you in with a dead blow hammer. I might add.
Really? Because as far as I'm aware, I'm the one they're currently talking about with
I
that.
doubt it. Hey,
that
John P.
chicken
Lyons,
yard.
greetings from Bourbon, Indiana, Brad. You know that your great-grandfather, Gerald Stine and Lamora Stine, lived in Bourbon, Indiana, and you have cousins that live there right now?
Yeah, I knew that.
You didn't know that.
I did. I don't know much, but I did know that.
Alice Long's here. She said, everybody's talking about Fauci for some reason. Just me, or does anyone else get reminded of Louis Dodson from Jurassic World 3 when they see and hear Bill Gates? These guys have got their own conversation going, White. They've tuned us out.
It's the comments section. That's what they do.
I know it.
It's what makes the comments fun to be in. It's just having those tiny little interpersonal conversations that we hopefully don't notice and ridicule.
Do you remember Heidi Carmichael?
Oh, that name is so familiar.
Okay, she was on last week.
Yeah.
She was, and she got laughing at you, and I think she kind of admires you a lot, White. I think she has the hot spot.
I mean,
anyway, she said, "Hey, I'll prove it. Hey, there again from Boise, Idaho. It would be fun to see Wyatt and meet him too, as you banter back and forth. We never see Wyatt. That's Heidi Carmichael.
That's literally the entire joke. Is that you never see it. Like, do you want to ruin the joke? Because I mean, if you want to ruin the joke, then
it sounds to me like you have a little secret admirer, son. The problem is it's not a secret anymore. It's out in the
except
open.
it's kind of lacking the secret in
That's
Secret
true.
Admirer.
Yeah, so that to me doesn't complete the circuit.
No.
Benjamin's here. Bremen, Indiana is here too. You know, I was born in Bremen, Indiana.
Surprisingly, yeah, I knew that.
Oh, boy, that's one of the first for you. Tanya Savarino's here from Cleveland. Scott McCowan, Drunk on Vodka, sounds like a band or a song or an infomercial.
What doesn't sound like a cool band name? Just combine any three words.
Drunk on Vodka. Yeah, that's true.
Just combine any three names, and you'll get something that deserves to be a band name.
Look what Karen Boyd said, and she said this a while back. 225 people, wow, and Wyatt's playing the chicken yodel. So Karen is taking you down. She doesn't put up with the chicken yodel nonsense, and she's certainly not going to go with the boneless banana.
Okay, that's already way too long for a band name. Stick to something like Chicken Nugget Dinosaurs or something. Like that'd be a good name for a band.
Yes.
Short-lived band, but a band.
Ooh, yes. Hey, William Campbell said, I like the chicken yodel.
Thank you, sensible people who admire a good chicken yodel.
Right.
Where were you when I showed that to all my friends and immediate family?
Hey, guess what? Bill Little said, hello, Brad. Good to hear you again. Looking forward to another good show, sir, from Bill, Pennsylvania. Oh, hey, buddy, us country folk aren't like Portland, Seattle. That's Doug Thunder. Yeah, I know, you country folk. I know, that's true. Oregon and Washington are filled with conservatives, but they're stuck with Seattle and Portland. And Beaverton.
Why can't we just saw them off and float them off into the Atlantic or something?
Brenda K. Marlowe said, hair bread.
Okay, I see how this is.
I'm late, but I'm here. I hear the banana song. Go ahead.
No, you ruined it.
What did you say? Say it.
I don't know, Mr. Look, you keep saying I never pay attention to stuff.
Right.
Now it's your chance to prove that you do. What did I say?
I don't know.
Oh, wow. So it was a lame joke about sawing those states off and floating them off into the Atlantic.
Wyatt, I thought of that joke a long time ago, and I talked about Florida.
And yet I'm the one who said it first, giving me the credit.
You know what Scott McCowan said? Those who like the chicken yodel are deaf.
Those who... Excuse me. Who said that? Who said that?
Oh, that would be Scott McCowan.
Oh, Scott McCowan. Oh, boy. I wish I
Why
could...
will you put that up again?
Chicken yodel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted some people to hear that haven't heard it. Jim Carlson said, very impressed by the chicken yodeler. And this is Song Night. Well, it's not just Song Night. We got some things to talk about, but I always like to get started where we get to laugh, feel like we're a community, care about the things that matter to us, and get everybody on board so we can think. But, my son had this chicken yodel song. He's played it for me numerous times in the car, usually when I was tied up in the trunk. Why? Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, that's
My gosh.
I still don't know why people just don't like me to show that song. It's almost like they think it's bad or something. Who could think that is bad?
It is good. It's getting better and better because it's so ridiculous. What about the song "They're Coming to Take Me Away"? Ha ha by Tencel Sizemore. Do you know that song, Wyatt?
I do not know that song. I'm too busy looking.
They're coming to take me away, ha ha. They're coming to take me away, ha ha. Hee hee hoo hoo to the funny farm where life is beautiful all the time. And I'll be happy to see those nice men in their clean white coats, and they're coming to take me away, ha ha.
Oh, that one. Yeah, I know that one.
I actually remember that song from the 70s. It was some crazy song anyways. It was out there, and I remember.
Well, no, I actually do recognize that too.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do. I don't know where I heard it though, but I recognize that, like, the melody of it.
Maybe it was on the tail end of the chicken song. Listen,
What's the boo button? Hold on, what's the boo button? I need to
just push a button and be happy.
Man, this soundboard was totally worth the investment.
It is, especially because you get the buttons. Folks, on Stine Has Issues, we, as I said to you, always like to lighten things up at first because it is comedy that got me into the game in the first place. Let's face it, if I wasn't a comedian, nobody would have shown up. But you're here now, so let's talk. Secondly, I said comedy, conservatism, that is the conservative point of view, the way to see the world by seeing the history of what made it work, what made it fail, what is wise, what is not wise, what is good, and what is counterproductive, and trying to apply that to the contemporary structure of culture, adapting to the fact that things change, people change, ideas change, ideologies change, philosophies change. True enough. But there are some that have stood the test of time and must remain so if we are going to survive as a culture, and certainly if we're going to survive as the United States of America. And one of the great things that I have always stood for, as you know, as those of you who come to see and listen to Stine Has Issues, is freedom and liberty. And as a comic, there's nothing more sacrosanct than the First Amendment. I've talked about this over and over and over again because free speech means free thought. Thought is information. Information is the ability to communicate clearly ideas and allow others to embrace them with you so that you can be on the same page and actually see reality and truth. And it's not subjective. It is, in fact, objective, and that's what allows us to have a culture that is civilized and works. It's why we know that science works, because things and natural laws that God created remain consistent, and because of that, the West created modern science. I'm not saying, Wyatt, I'm not saying that China didn't come up with a few cool things, abacuses and gunpowders.
Gunpowder's a big one.
Big one, especially if you want to blow up your abacus, which happened when we got,
One could say that its popularity really blew up.
You would say that, wouldn't you?
I would, because I'm funny, unlike some people in this room.
Hey, don't blow a fuse.
But we're talking about gunpowder, not fuses.
Fuses are impregnated with gunpowder, and when I say impregnated, I'm not trying to steer you into a non-peace.
And you are failing.
Okay, well, listen, I just wanted my folks to know how much I care about the fact that, yes, Islamic culture had some things that it had discovered in mathematics. So all cultures had things they had discovered, but modern science, as we know it, the scientific method that allows us to put together into a formula ways to do inductive and deductive reasoning, to make predictions, to be able to observe them and repeat them, and duplicate them, allowed us to create modern science as we know it. It only arrived in the Renaissance during the Dark Ages of all things.
Well, that's before the invention of the light bulb.
You understand that the Dark Ages was a lie, that there were no Dark Ages, that some of the great inventions in human history happened during that time, but they tried to, there was a group of folks that didn't like the fact that Christianity had such influence, had done so much to modernize the human culture, that they tried to disparage it by saying that somehow it took atheist scientists to come up and create all these ideas because the church was holding everything back. No, Christians created modern science. That's just simply Kepler, Newton. I'm not making this up. Just go look at history books. Go read Dominion by Tom Holland, an atheist who said, yeah, if it wasn't for Christianity, there would be no West. This is simply the truth of reality of what's really happened. You know, we have a lot of people talking about history in America now, and we have to teach real history. Well, I got a flash for you. I agree. We have to teach real history, but that means everybody has to deal with the fact that some of your historical ideas are going to be lambasted by the truth. The truth is what you fear, not history, because history can be manipulated. It can be rewritten. As they say, the victor writes the history. Am I right? You know what that means, right, son?
Yep.
What does it mean?
It means that nobody really pays attention to what the loser has to say.
Why do you think that is?
Because they lost.
Okay.
And clearly a loser can't possibly be right.
Well, wait a minute. Can't you learn something from losing?
Yeah, how not to lose.
That's true. Good point. Well, listen, here's where I'm going to take you guys. When I started doing comedy full time, it was 1988.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was last week.
No, son. It was 1988. Last week is when I finally perfected it.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Go with that, pal. Okay. Go with that.
But here's the deal. I began to experiment with social media and whatever years ago because everybody was getting into it. But I was an older guy. I'm a boomer, so I didn't understand it. I've had to reverse engineer my entire career. And all the new fans and all the people that like me and think I'm saying these poignant insights about American culture are watching 20-year-old videos because I did all this stuff 20 years ago. I knew what was happening. I knew what was coming, and I commented on it. And it's what made me the comic that I am. Now, I say that because I had this group that at that time, I don't even remember the name of them. They reached out to me and said, would I do a blog? I didn't even know what a blog was. You know what a blog is, don't you, son?
Yeah, you still don't know what a blog is.
Well, I don't.
Considering the fact that I have to usually set everything up whenever you want to do anything as simple as turning on Facebook.
Yeah.
Seriously, how could you live stream to Facebook for 2+ years at this point and not know how the Facebook button works?
I did it. It says live. I pushed live, and there I was.
Okay, so why are you making me do it then?
Because...
And why do you constantly have me fix the mistakes that you cause when you try to do it?
Because I wanted to give you the illusion that you had insight, wisdom, chops. I wanted you to feel part of the show, son. You have to understand that when you sit in your little chair in your pajamas and your nightgown, I have to deal with that and realize it's my son. I love him just the way he is. Yes, he likes to wear a dunce cap. I don't know why.
It fits my personality. I've been over this already.
I know. But anyways, I just say the point's too high, too sharp, and you could put somebody's eye out.
Well, listen, then they need to stop looking down on me.
Yeah. But then again, there was a time when we put people in dunce caps because we wanted you to feel like you're supposed to work harder. This was what America was. Can you imagine walking into a classroom and seeing your kid in a corner with a giant pointed hat like you're the buffoon?
Yes.
That's what we used to do.
I can picture that.
And what I do know is
and I would find it hilarious.
Kids were smarter. Yeah. And you know what they never did? They didn't go around shooting their friends.
Were they smarter or were they just better at hiding the dumb?
Maybe. But listen, you know one of the smartest things you can do in your life?
Hide the dumb.
Hide the dumb.
Remember, folks, life lesson for the day. Hide the dumb.
Well, speaking of dumb and hiding it, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to do a rant now. It is my latest. I don't do it every week. Didn't do it last week, but I'm doing it this week. I call it The Truth Hurts. And this particular one I'm doing for a very specific reason. I wrote this particular rant, I think in 2005. It could have been 3, but it was at least 15 to 20 years ago that I wrote what you're about to hear. I haven't edited it. I'm not going to change it. It makes a reference to Tolerate This, my album, which was 2005. So this would have been 2005. So I make reference to this new album, came out, 15 years ago, 17 years ago, to show you how old this is. But I want you to see that when I told you that I was aware of what was happening in America and our culture, I was talking about this, fighting about this long before Bill Burr did it, or Ricky Gervais did it, or Dave Chappelle did it. I was doing it. Well, and so was Carlin. Carlin was doing this thing. Now, again, I'm not saying that I'm better or funnier than those guys. They're all great comics. I'm just making a point that this particular issue of freedom and political correctness, cultural Marxism that was going to destroy America, I've been talking about for over 20 years because I knew that I needed to, because it was important that our lives in America wasn't destroyed, and our freedoms and how important they were. So I'm setting this giant thing up because I want you to remember that as I speak this term, these words, they were written 17 years ago. And if you didn't hear that setup, you would have thought they were written today. Oh, it's going to be a little challenging because it deals with people with a disability. But there's a point behind it. And so I'm going to allow you to make the judgment because we're going to talk about it as soon as I finish. So here it is. The truth hurts. Let me ask you a question. What's so funny about deaf people? In my latest DVD, Tolerate This, I speak of desiring a country where we can laugh at deaf people again. But what do I mean by that? I've been around a number of deaf people in my life. And one of the things I noticed was a sense of confidence they all seemed to possess. Confidence that could almost be perceived as cocky. What I came to realize was so many of us unhandicapped often suffer with a sense of pity for the handicap based on our apparent superiority to them. Them being the operative word, because if truth be told, it's almost as if we subconsciously perceive them as less human. In our desire to make them feel comfortable around us, or is it the other way around? We end up patronizing them, treating them almost like infants that couldn't possibly survive without us. Deaf culture, I have noticed, and I had it confirmed by an interpreter I know, they're exactly the opposite. Not only do they not need the hearing world, oftentimes they don't want us. I, as a comic, have always tried to find a place to laugh at everyone, whether it's the political left, which I disagree with, or the naturalist, materialist, atheist. But I always find a place to find funny and flaws with the conservatives and or Christians in our midst as well. Why? Because these are my people. And though I resonate with their point of view, they aren't perfect. Not by a long shot. I know this for a fact, if for no other reason than I'm in their group. I'm not deaf, but as a comic, I'm potentially always on the brink of offending someone. That offense usually takes the form of someone disagreeing with me, but by using the word offended, they're actually trying a sophisticated form of censorship. In my routine, I laughed at the fact that deaf people wouldn't be offended by me because they couldn't hear me. Then I go on to insist that I believe handicapped people are honored by being included in a comedy routine and poked fun of like everyone else. If we don't, our humor excludes, I'm sorry, but it's just what I'm trying to read and it doesn't sound right. If we don't, our humor exclusive, oh, there it is, I'm sorry. Our humor exclusive told you this was live. Our humor exclusive sensitivity equates to the separate but equal parity of inclusiveness, since apparently in liberal New Thought, only the fully abled are mature enough to take a joke. My having the privilege to laugh with the deaf allows equal access to a group of Americans already ignored and makes for a less politically correct country, which is my mission. People who only allow those of similar ilk to joke with each other are, in my opinion, censors of not only the First Amendment, but of actual progress and the ultimate American value, treating everyone the same. I always stress context over content. If I made fun of people simply to exploit for a laugh, I would be wrong. If I did it fully aware of the potential response of some viewers and then explain my purpose, it's then up to the perception of the offended to hopefully be clarified and enriched. For those who choose to see meanness even when the true point is explained, I'm afraid that is truly a handicap. This is God's Comic, Brad Stine, and PC Free is Liberty. That's another segment of The Truth Hurts. Wyatt, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are we probably should have done a dry rehearsal before we...
What do you mean?
Nothing.
Wyatt, seriously, what are your thoughts on that depth, the insight, the wisdom? Did you find anything in the terms or the words I used that could have been problematic?
There was one word specifically. I can't remember which one it was, though. Maybe the audience can help us out. Audience, was there any part of that seemed a bit off? Just asking for a friend? You wouldn't know him. So.
Anything?
No, it looks like the audience has turned to crickets because I'm hearing nothing.
Well, here's the thing. I would say the word deaf, you're not supposed to say anymore. This was done 17 years ago. I say deaf because who cares? It just talks about people that don't hear. You know
honestly,
what they tell you?
I've never heard anyone complain about using the word deaf. Is that like a thing?
Yeah. You know what they say now? Hearing impaired.
Well, I mean, what if it's only a partial deafness? Wouldn't hearing impaired fit more because they're not totally incapable of hearing?
I don't know. Why? What does deaf mean?
Well, the definition of deaf is the complete inability to hear using your sense of hearing.
Okay. What does hearing impaired mean?
You have a reduced ability to use your hearing sense compared to the statistically average person.
What if you could hear nothing, but you weren't allowed to use the word deaf? What would we call that?
Hearing denied would be my personal word for that.
See, the reason I wanted to do that Truth Hurts segment was, first off, to show you what I wrote 17 years ago, because what I really wanted to deal with was this idea of what's happening in America that has to end, and of course it is, the fact that there's a group of people, the left, who have said they are going to control the language, and by doing so, they're going to control our ability to communicate. They're going to control our ability to define when they are controlling us. They're going to control our ability to disagree with them. They're going to control our ability to just use a definitive statement or a defined word to simply represent an issue with somebody. See, what always bothered me was, and I did a whole joke about this in Conservative Unleashed about the difference between fat and short. I said, and the joke went about, I said something and I said, hey, big guy. And I said, big guy's a compliment. Big girl, not so much. I said, but yet, what can you say? Big boned, hefty, full figured gal. You know what all those things mean? Fat. Exactly. So the point I was making is this, and it was exposing, and this is in 2004, it was exposing what was happening. They were taking the same definition, giving it different words to mean the same thing, as though somehow this made it less offensive, because they decided that the word fat was indicative or systemically insulting.
Well, if you think about it, fat already had a negative connotation. It was already associated with bad things. So using a synonym, I can understand the logic of using a synonym that doesn't have those already pre-existing negative connotations as a way of circumventing that. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying I understand it.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I also said within that same context that fat didn't always mean bad things, as in a fat wallet. I got a fat paycheck. I love the fat on that meat. It makes it more flavorful. Matter of fact, the best part of beef is the fat. So I understand what you said was actually pretty articulate and in reference to somebody who's fat. But what I said in the joke was it's a descriptive term. Now, here's what I mean. Skinny, does that mean you've insulted them?
Depends on who you ask.
Okay. Short, is that an insult?
To a dwarf.
Is it true?
Yeah.
Tall. Why is that not an insult? Fat, short, tall, skinny, descriptive terms.
Because typically being tall has advantages.
Does it?
Yes.
And how does that have advantages when it comes to not hitting your head on a low-hanging bar?
I never said they were all advantages.
Okay. But you made my point, is that I want to return to words because they have actually given more power and more insulting impetus to these words by telling us the words are off limits. Now, I'm going to show you guys a clip from a comedy routine that I did years ago. Now, I may have shown this clip to you guys before, but I'm gonna do it again because it fits in the context of what we're talking about today, and it's important. It's one of my top 10 most favorite jokes I've ever done, but as far as people that talk about it and like it. I'm sure some of you will have seen it, but we have a lot of new folks, and they may never have seen it. So we're going to show you a joke, and we're going to talk about what happened about it and how it applies to this idea of controlling language. And also, what's even more important is that you need to prepare yourself to undo the idea of self-censorship that you have been taught to do in the name of sensitivity. So Wyatt, if you would, we're going to show you a couple minutes of a routine that some of you will know, some will just see for the first time, and then we're going to discuss it and try to wrap up this session with a marching orders on how to go back, take back America and our freedoms. Wyatt, if you would, hit it.
Talking about having a worldview that has repercussions. That people understand where they're going. And it's gotten so crazy in this country we can't even interact anymore because everybody's too sensitive. Too sensitive nowadays, yes. I went to a Chinese restaurant. I love Chinese food. I love Chinese people. I love China. I'm a China fan. Old cult culture, they invented things, abacuses and gunpowder and good stuff we need. If it wasn't for them, our 4th of July would have been a lot less festive. Let's face it, folks. We'd be like a, woo! Okay, I love Chinese people. I love Chinese food, so I went in to get some Chinese food, and I wanted to eat, and I was hungry. You know what they had for me to eat with? Chopsticks, and that's okay. It's a Chinese restaurant. But I said, you know what? I can't use them. I need a knife, a fork, and a spoon, and they didn't have any. Now, this is where I started getting a little testy. First off, do I look like I should be proficient with chopsticks? No, that's not against anybody. I don't know how to use them. I'm an American. I mean, matter of fact, every other ethnic restaurant I've ever been to has a knife, a fork, and a spoon. Every single one of it. And they've never expected me to be proficient in their cultural heritage. Never gone to an Italian restaurant yet, and they go, here's your spaghetti, but first, play the mandolin. Every restaurant always has a knife, a fork, and a spoon. You know why? Because we figured out that it's better than sticks. That's why we gave up on sticks a couple thousand years ago. Cutlery is an upgrade. And I was upset, and the manager came over to me all indignant. We don't have silverware, we only have chopsticks because we want to be authentic. And I said, as a comedian, oh, you want to be authentic? Okay, let me get this straight, Bob. I just walked into a Chinese restaurant in a strip mall in the United States of America. I walked through brushed aluminum doors. I was met by a blonde woman that set me down at a Formica table and gave me a plastic laminated menu. I'm about to order Chinese food cooked by that Mexican guy in the back. And when I finish eating, I'm paying with a credit card. But you think if you throw in chopsticks, suddenly I'm propelled into the Ming Dynasty. What delusion are you living in? I mean, you're going to have to give me a chance to suspend my disbelief. Why stop at chopsticks? I'm going to need a whole I Reject Modern Technology theme day so I can be prepared. I'll wake up to the sound of a rooster outside of my window. I'll look down at the sundial to see what time it is. Then, taking my clothes down to the nearest stream, I'll beat them with a rock to get them nice and clean. Then I'll come back in and call a girl up and see if she wants to go to a Chinese restaurant. But I won't use a phone. I'll use a telegraph. Or better yet, smoke signals. Then, I'll go pick her up in my best Roman chariot. And once we get over there to eat, I'm not going to pay with a credit card. I'm going to pay with 3 hands, a woven blanket, and some beads. And then when we go home, I'm not walking her to the door. I'm hitting her over the head of the club and dragging her by the hair. Now when you throw in chopsticks, I get it. Now, I love that joke. I'll tell you why. First off, I love watching the faces of all the people going, man, you're taking this chopsticks thing a little too seriously, don't you think? And the answer is yes. I'm taking it way too seriously. That's why it's funny. It's called satire, sarcasm, using a ridiculous scenario to make a finer point. Why do I tell you that? Because I did this show at a chapel at Pepperdine University. And then I was hired to do another show later on down the road, and I was fired. And I called the booker up and said, what happened? Been fired. Why? You did the chopsticks joke. I said, yes, but if you listen to the chopsticks, it's just simply me making fun of the fact I can't use them, and I just figured, we should be using silverware by now. We're Americans. I'll never forget what the guy said. He said, yes, but you said that silverware was better than chopsticks. Now, I try to be honest, folks. I'm not perfect. I can make mistakes. My religion demands me to try to always be better and grow. And I thought about it and I said, you know what? I don't want to offend people. I did say that silverware was better than chopsticks because it is! Obviously, a knife, a fork, and a spoon is better than chopsticks. Oh, you're just being ethnocentric. Obviously, a knife, a fork, and a spoon in tandem are better than chopsticks. You're just being bigoted and intolerant and insensitive. Oh, for crying out loud. Here's a bowl of soup, here's some chopsticks, here's a spoon. Let's see who gets to the bottom first. If you like to use chopsticks, fine. But if you think that everybody should learn how to use them and you don't understand why I'm so crazy, put a helmet on! See, 2 kids got out of the show and wouldn't complain. They wouldn't complain. And I got fired. I'm not going to tell you the ethnicity of these 2 kids. But you can pretty much rule out their last name was Rodriguez. And that's okay. I mean, they have the right to do that. But here's why I bring it up. Because after the show, a young black man came up to me. He said, thank you for your show. It really made me think. Another guy came up to me and said, I'm a vegan. The most radical form of vegetarian. He said, I thought your animal rights stuff was funny. Another girl came up to me and said, hey, I'm going to start wearing fur now, kind of joking. Another guy said, hey, you should be a libertarian. Another kid came up to me and said, will you come speak at our Young Republicans convention? Unsolicited. I had all these different ideologies, cultures, and religions, politics come up to me and tell me thank you. A black guy a vegan, a Republican, a libertarian, a girl. Representing the whole of America and all the kids that never got to see a show and get to make their own choices because two people were offended by something that isn't offensive. I don't call that sensitivity, I'll call it censorship. And so a university that is supposed to be teaching kids all types of thought, even dissenting viewpoints, took the high road and fired me. Shame on you, Pepperdine. I'm not here, my friends, to hurt anybody's feelings. But if you are unable, let me tell you something. You want to truly know if you have an immature character, you can tell by this rule how difficult it is for you to laugh at yourself. That's just immaturity. And if you cannot discern the difference between somebody being malicious towards your ethnicity and somebody finding humor in the differences, put a helmet on! We've got to laugh again. We've got to laugh again because we are different. I'd rather laugh about it than fight about it. You see, we used to be able to. We used to be able to. But
So, there you have it. A joke that was written probably in the late 90s, recorded at Thomas Road Baptist Church with Jerry Falwell and his wife in the front row, the late Jerry Falwell. Came out in 2003. And it was a true story. A joke that was written about chopsticks was its own joke, right? Its own fun. But the true story of everything that happened to me afterwards is an indication of what has happened to America. Now, keep in mind, this was 20 years ago when I did that joke. It was 25 when the incident took place. That's how old the joke is, in the 90s. I remember when I was at Pepperdine about to do that joke. It was a chapel, so it wasn't the large, the full student body. So we're probably talking about 1998, maybe. And I remember before I did the joke wondering, should I just skip that joke and do a different one, just in case, somebody doesn't understand what I'm doing. And they were younger, right? And it takes a more sophisticated, mature person to get jokes, to not take things so seriously. At least it used to be that way. So here I am, maybe 25 years ago, wondering, do you think somebody will not understand the context of this joke? And I remember choosing in that moment to say, no, I'm doing it because it's funny, and they are old, grown up enough, they're in college, they should be able to understand and discern this. And if they don't like it, then come up to me and say, yeah, I don't like it because you made fun of Chinese people, and then we could talk about that. And that's a more robust, interesting, important conversation than just me being afraid to present it, or them learning to engage with an idea you don't agree with. And because they weren't forced to do that, there was this sort of college equivalent, university equivalent of the HR department that wants to go in there and fight the wrongs done to these poor children. And they acted like children, to be insensitive to me just joking about chopsticks. From Asian kids who by far dominated intellectually in all of their classes, dominated us. You'd think they'd say, joke with our chopsticks. We're going to have the engineering degree. We're going to get the best jobs. We're going to dominate and rule the world with all of our technological advances and our wisdom and our insight and our educational prowess. So joke all about our chopsticks. We're still using them. It's too bad you can't, but I'm still superior to you intellectually. And they probably are when it comes to engineering. I don't have that brain. But this is 25 years ago. I, as a guy who hates and despises cultural Marxism or political correctness, as those of you who don't study know it to be, And I was wondering if I shouldn't do it. And I said, no, in this 25 years, no. They've got to deal with truth and reality. They've got to understand where humor is and know how to dissect it and talk about it and think about it. And if nothing else, learn the principle of being able to take a joke and grow up. So when I lost the gig, when the guy called me and said, yeah, they're fired because somebody complained, these 2 Chinese kids complained that you were making fun of chopsticks. And I had not heard of this at this point. I had begun to get inklings of political correctness. Back in '88, I was performing my first tour, performing in colleges, did 180 colleges in 2 semesters with 2 other comics. So it was one after other, just driving in a van. It was hardcore, man. And we were learning comedy. And I remember doing a joke about shopping. And I said, in something to the fact that, women like to shop. And I remember a couple of girls going, ooh, this is 1988. And I'd done the joke a million times. I always got a laugh. It was, what's the big deal? Of course girls like to shop. Who cares? That's the way it is. Girls like to shop. Not that there's not some guy that likes to shop. I'm sure my son likes to shop when he needs another.
I shop for wrenches and wrenches only.
Yeah, he does.
Why do
Or
you think I work at Lowe's?
special hammers that allow us to make a Moroccan sound. But I remember that inkling of something's wrong. I was in Massachusetts, of course. It was far left. But I was first beginning to understand what was happening. The destruction of American kids through leftist ideology implemented in culture in the universities. And then 10 years later, the Chinese kids upset about the chopsticks joke. So I guess I had enough understanding of where the country was coming from and fighting back against it, even back then. So I want you to think about this. When I did the chopsticks joke, one of the things I did in that clip was I prefaced the joke with saying, listen, I like China. They created some great things, gunpowder and advocate. I'm a China fan. You know what, folks? I'm not. Matter of fact, I think the Chinese government is despicable. And they're one of the greatest human rights violators in the world today. They still have the Uyghur, is it Uyghur? I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Uyghur Muslims as slaves. They harvest their organs. I mean, this is evil happening right now. So China doesn't deserve any pass. Their government is evil. Lots of good people. There's a lot of good Christians in China. Praying, going to prison for it. But I threw that little caveat out about China. Hey, I like this, I like that. Kind of like, and I see the only guy I know that's doing this kind of stuff now, I was doing it back 20 years ago, is Bill Burr. He is really, really talented at trying to nip the objections in the bud before you start drawing conclusions. He'll say, look, what do I know? And he said, well, I'm an idiot. Or, I'm stupid. But, well, what about, he's learned to use his words to craft how he's going to get into a place to take the blow out, to take some of the stun out of the blow, so he can say what he wants to say. He's learned how to game the system, which we have to do. Shouldn't even be thinking about that in America. But you got to game the system so you can speak freely, which the First Amendment guaranteed you the right to do. So I'm talking about, as a guy who fought against political correctness, I was making some self-censorship. Now, was it wisdom maybe? Trying to be wise enough to make sure that they heard what I wanted to say, so I was just trying to be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove, and ease my way into it by setting it up, saying, China's got some good stuff. Yeah, that was happening too. I mean, in a way, it's just being smart. I got to figure out a way to get into where I want to go, and they're not going to go with me unless I somehow figure out a way to make them know that I don't hate China. That's just being smart as a communicator. But I want you to understand that part of the destruction of America's freedoms has come from not only the redefinition of words, it's not only in the control of the communication by the left, the censorship by the left, and the intolerance of the left, and the bigotry of the left towards the conservatives that they use and instigate so that they can keep us from speaking. And the only reason they do that is because if we were able to debate them, they'd lose, because they have no substance, or they live only by subjectivity and feelings. So they have to censor us, and they do it by feelings. Oh, it's Nazis. As long as they're Nazis, they don't really need to speak. Should we listen to a Nazi, right? It's a lie, slander. It's all they got. Lies, controlling the language, controlling communication, censoring free speech so that we can analyze and weigh the two. As a matter of fact, it's gotten so bad, as I've told you before, and that CRT teaches, is that logic and reason, which is the one go-to the West always could. All humanity could, actually. It came from the West Greeks, but humanity could go to logic and reason, so we could always find that true north, so that we'd all be able to figure out where we're going in case we were getting sideways, and we all had this sort of dissenting beliefs, and we were clashing. Well, let's find what the truth is, so at least we can adjust, see who has to adjust. But we'll do that out of the integrity of seeking the truth. So you know what they now say? Logic is racist. Logic is racist because it was a form of logic, is from the Greeks, which is Western, which is white. Clearly, it's not. Clearly, logic is a human attribute that they simply formalized and found a way to help us understand it so we could do it and make a mathematical formula out of discussing ideas and thoughts so we could actually reach the conclusion of this mathematical formula of logic and know that it's true. It was a beautiful, genius move in ramping humanity up into a new dimension of being able to finally get to science and the things that we need and believe in as humans and allow us to progress. So it was a brilliant, beautiful move in a moment in time in history. But because logic exposes the lies, because logic exposes the flaws, and they can't make the flaws and the lies go away, and they can't deal with the fact that we are exposing the darkness and we are crushing it with the weight of truth, the only option they had was to now make truth no longer real. How do they do that? Postmodernism. To make good ideas actually systemically racist, political correctness, cultural Marxism. Put people into groups, put people into oppressive categories, and thus you can't even trust anything that is said from these people. And then, of course, critical law theory, which became critical race theory, once again, find something evil within the context of something that works and has worked forever, logic and reason, so that you don't have to deal with it. We can jettison it because it was racist. So keep this in mind so you understand what's happening, and then you go out and do something about it. It's why I have preached and preached forever. You cannot be political correct. That's why I say PC free is my sign-off. PC free is liberty. Politically correct, freedom, free from PC, not caring what people think. And I know it's costly now, especially because the corporations have jumped on board. Corporations oftentimes do devious things. Corporations oftentimes use slave labor. Corporations oftentimes will send things overseas to get a better rate in return, and people are exploited for it. Corporations oftentimes will try to hide assets or do things. And I'm not anti-corporations. I'm not anti-wealth. But they will do things that deserve scrutiny. And so in order to alleviate that problem, they go woke. They'll say, let's do some virtue signaling. Let's go jump on BLM. Let's go jump on CRT. Everybody will give us accolades, and we can hide the fact that we're really doing some evil things over here. But who gives a crap? Because we've done these wonderful virtue concepts over here, so none of this even needs nothing to see here. This is where we're at. This is why it's so important that the American citizenry decides that they're not going to play the game. I will never watch a National Football League game again for the rest of my life because of what they allowed their people to do. Now, you might be saying, well, hey, I watch it. You know, they don't kneel anymore, so let it go. No! I make it a death sentence. The only way this is ever going to be reclaimed, that we can be free again, is if you say, we're not watching your crap again, and I hope it crumbles until it doesn't exist. Now, if it gets rebuilt in another league with another group of people that care about America, love this nation, are grateful for the fact that an athlete makes that much money, doesn't deserve it, he's just an athlete, but we're going to pay him that because we want to watch him do something they're great at. Fine, but I'm not watching your league, it's going to have to be a new one. I'm not going to watch NBA again, ever again. It is dead to me. And if we all did that, guess what? We'd control the culture again. If we did that to Disney, Disney has supported pedophilia. If you watch Disney Plus, if you go to Disneyland, well, you know, the kids want to go. What am I going to do? What you're going to do is you're going to say, we're not going to that because this evil needs to be destroyed. I literally want to watch Disney just collapse and vanish until a new company comes in that is deserving of family respect because they actually care about it. See, there's a difference between sensitivity and censorship. This is what I've been saying from the very beginning. I have had on numerous occasions people who have gotten on threads and discussed political correctness because I despise it and I'm always mocking it. And they come on board and they say things like, yes, sure. Yeah, all you want is, you old white guys, you just want to be, back to the old days where we could use the N-word and homosexuals could be thrown in prison and women couldn't vote. And they conflate all these ridiculous, absurd notions to what political correctness is. And then what they believe it is, either by they're uneducated and uninformed, or it's part of the game for them to get their power, is they'll say it's just politeness. It's just being polite to those who were heretofore marginalized. It's not politeness to censor yourself against truth. It's foolishness. It's absurdity. And most importantly, and it's what I saw during the Corona cult, it was the giving away of your freedoms. Not being stolen, given away. The America that is going to have to fight for freedom and being free again, that America is at a precipice that I don't know they're going to be able to overcome because Corona exposed the cowards that are so many Americans. Cowards. Again, if this was America, the original Americana of the people that took risks, that believed in a meritocracy, that believed that if you were in danger, you would isolate yourself and let the rest of the people go out and survive, but you gave away to those who were healthy to make their own risks and make their own way. That's what it used to be. And that got flipped on its head. You were evil. You were killing people if you didn't wear your mask, do the vaccine, do your 6. Now, we now know through facts and data, the masks don't work, is what's been proven over again. And Fauci continues to Fauci things up and say you need to wear it. Vaccine, President of the United States had 3, supposedly, right? Got it. Why? Because vaccines don't work. They don't keep you from getting it. They don't keep you from spreading it. And then they say, yeah, but it just keeps it so it's not so bad when you get it. I had it. It wasn't so bad. Most people got it. It wasn't so bad. In other words, those of us who didn't take the magic elixir, got it and got through it, 99.8% of us did it without all that stuff. In other words, it duplicated exactly what the vaccine supposedly did by keeping it from being too bad when you got it. Bull crap! Nothing changed. If you hadn't gotten it, you would have had the exact same light symptoms. And some of you would have died. That's true. And as we have discussed over and over again, people have died from the flu and from a cold and from tetanus and from everything else every year. It's terrible. It sucks if you're the guy that happens to get the weird reaction. But my point is to censor yourself over a lie is on you because you failed as an American to stand up for truth and reality. And to go into the marketplace and say no. That's why I'm so grateful for those who nurses that said, I'm not taking the vaccine. I've seen it. I don't like it. I don't want it. Give me that option. Give me, especially when we've proven that I'm not giving it or taking it from anybody any worse than those who have it. We have actual documentation. Why am I bringing up this old thing? Because it has to do with you giving away freedoms. How are we going to fight and win back our freedoms as Americans? How are we going to retrieve it when the press is against us, when the corporations are against us, when the NBA is against us, when the sports are against us, when the academics are against us? If we don't become one, a militia of the mind, and say, I will not succumb, and I will sue, and I will fight, but I will retain my autonomy and freedom, and the First Amendment is sacrosanct, and more important than your sensitivity. It has to be that way, or we cannot survive. There will not be this program, or any program. You will be in jail for not succumbing and bowing the knee to whatever the latest leftist demand is. This is where we are. It is a civil war, and I don't know if we're winning. This is a militia of the mind, folks. We have to decide as one that we are going to fight for freedom in America. We will do whatever we need to do to be kind. I have these people tell me political correctness is just politeness in society. We already had that. It's called the Golden Rule. We've had it for 2,000 years. Do unto others, you've had others do unto you. We don't need political correctness, this cultural Marxism from the Frankfurt School from 1928. We don't need that to give me manners. The last person I need to get manners instructions from is Karl Marx. I'm a comic. My job is to speak and speak truth at all times. That's what I do. I'm going to be in Minnesota this coming up Saturday at a fundraiser. If you're in that part of Minnesota, go look on my website. You can see where it is. Come out and see it. I got some more shows coming. If you are a pastor or church leader in Indiana, I'm putting some stuff together in November. Give me a PM me. If you are a pastor or a church member in any state that would like free speech, a comedy that's funny, but it stands for our faith and our values, that's what I'm doing. I'll stay over on a Sunday and teach about critical race theory and how it does not comport with Christianity. I'll talk about what it means to be all in as a Christian in America. That's where my ministry is becoming. That's what I'm becoming. This podcast is going to exist as long as people want it to be here. If you would like to get a CD of the very first album I ever did, Cutting Edge Clean Comedy, Rebel Without a Curse, it's $50, and you say, I'll take it, and then I'll send you a link, and you can just donate $50, and I will send this to you as a gift. I'll sign it to you and send it to you. It's a way that I can acquire some funding to allow me to continue to get lights and cameras and guests and all the other things that I want to do to build this into fighting for comedy, for conservatism, for Christianity. This is what Stine Has Issues was all about. It's what it's becoming and where it's going. Got some new guests that will be coming up soon. If you guys like the guests, let me know. The last couple weeks we haven't, simply because Wyatt actually told me, he said, you know, people like you, why don't you just talk for a while? You don't have to have a guest all the time. And I took his word for it. So if the show has been failing miserably because we didn't have a guest, blame Wyatt. I would have had one. And if it's been brilliant and ingenious and mind-numbingly insightful and inspiring, it's because this is the way I wanted it to look and feel.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Right. Where's that booing button again?
I don't know. I'm sure it's out there. Wyatt, I'll tell you what. Just to lighten things up, that was pretty heavy. Do you have a little clip of the yodel song, the chicken yodeler? I'm just curious. Folks, I want you to know that I'm here every Monday. I'll continue to be here. I'm going to continue to fight for our values. I'm going to continue to be at live events, continue to grow. And I just was with Laura Boebert, Congresswoman, a couple weeks ago, and we might do some stuff together. We're going to continue things with Rick Green. Matter of fact, I'm going to be at one of his Patriot Academy shows in August 3rd in Texas, so come out and see that. Wyatt, cheer the people up. This is a song by who?
This is by Carrie Christensen.
Mm-hmm. Folks, don't say that I didn't provide for you every branch of possible entertainment for a night of fun, laughs, and insights from God's Comic Brad Stine. I'm so grateful that you guys come on. I'm grateful that you like what I'm doing. If you have any thoughts or ideas of guests or topics you'd like me to cover, please just leave a commentary and I will do that. But I care about this nation. I care about God first. I am a God believer, and I believe that the only way he ever revealed himself in human history was through Jesus Christ. There's never been anything like it in history. I'm a real guy that actually did miraculous things and was written about by people who saw it. I care about conservative values because they stand for wisdom and they evaluate things that actually worked and they apply it to the now. That's why I'm conservative. And I love comedy because it not only does it bring us laughter and something as human as commonality, but it also talks about the human experience and truth in a way that brings a spoonful of sugar to the medicine. That's why I do what I do. Once again, I am always humbled that you show up. And for all you guys that show up every week to watch me, I'm so grateful. I hope you can continue to enjoy it. Consider Show, please share. After this goes on, it's archived. Share it out there. Let's start getting 300, 400, 1,000 people. Let's see what we can do. Because when I say we, I mean it. You built this thing. I just showed up. And I appreciate everything that you do because you're the regular Americans, and I can't do without you. But guess what? You can't do without me either. God bless you. This is God's Comic Brad Stine saying sayonara. See you next week. And PC free is liberty. And remember, all I'm doing is putting the woke back to sleep. See you next Monday.